Marilyn Manson is due to perform at Wembley Arena on the 7th of November this year. And I feel so strongly that that should not be allowed to happen. It's already been achieved in Brighton. No Stage for Abusers led a really successful campaign that meant the council agreed that Marilyn Manson's presence there did not align with the council's values. And I think this is really important because that obviously translates to London, which is such a huge, diverse, multicultural, vibrant city. Every borough is different, every ward is different. We stand for the same values. So I mean, the same applies undoubtedly. But you also have to question the thinking process of the organisers, which are OVO at Wembley Arena. And, the argument will be, and for a lot of people, they will say, well, he's a free man. He hasn't actually been convicted of any offence. Charges were brought against him. And that, he wasn't brought to trial. And that's the point. He wasn't brought to trial. He has not been cleared by a jury of his peers and found not guilty. He has had the charges dropped because of the statute of limitations. So it was just that there was too much time passed between the offence happening and then bringing it to be prosecuted. And also because it was found there was insufficient evidence. And that's often a problem when you bring a case of abuse to a criminal court. The civil cases are a different matter. So with the civil cases that were brought against Manson, they were settled out of court and he actually dropped a defamation case against his ex-partner. That's the allegations, that's where they stand. It doesn't mean that he's not guilty. And on top of that, as I've said about individuals like Johnny Depp and other abusers, they are quite open and clear about their conduct and their attitudes. And you can see this reflected in the lyrics to Marilyn Manson songs, in their videos. You can see it in interviews that Marilyn Manson's done with Rolling Stone. There was a famous one that he did in 1997 and another one in 2009 where he talked graphically about ideas that he had about how he would like to harm women and girls. And he also has talked very sort of candidly about how he really engages in degradation and dehumanization of women. I mean, that's baked into the brand, that's baked into the persona. He also assaulted a woman on stage in 2019. So you've got to recognize that, we talk about operating in plain sight. That's obviously, that's relevant to people like Russell Brand as well. I've talked about this a lot before. This is the idea that men can be subversive and push the boundaries and really engage with what are the norms and what can be stretched and do that in a way where it's performative. They can do it in front of other people and then afterwards say, oh, but it was completely consensual. It was me kind of pushing boundaries. And if you watch the documentary Marilyn Manson Unmasked, there is a clear theme of this, of him abusing in a way which is performative as a kind of a cover. So he really is doing this. He's really operating in a way that's saying, this is who I am, this is how I work, but it's all kind of part of the persona. You need to make of it what you will, but I would encourage you to be aware of this campaign and to really support No Stage for Abusers. I think that if you want to, you should also consider contacting Sadiq Khan, who's the Mayor of London, and anybody else involved in Brent Council. And if you're a local resident, I think you're in a really powerful position to make a difference. The Mayor's Violence Against Women and Girls strategy specifically talks about safe spaces for women, which this wouldn't be. It also talks about being survivor led and survivor focused. That's in terms of services, but also in terms of strategy. And there's also a clarity around holding perpetrators to account, but recognizing that violence against women and girls is a whole society problem. So the argument that this isn't our problem, this is somebody else's problem, or that the evidence isn't strong enough, does not hold water, because all you have to do is look to the wider context. Just look at what he's saying. Just look at the way that he presents, how he, if nothing else, he is inciting violence towards women and girls. And then you look at that in the context of all of these allegations from lots of different women who've had these awful experiences. So if you care about violence against women and girls and doing something about it, you cannot then agree that London should ever be welcoming and accommodating to somebody who is profiting from this type of image. If you agree, hit like, share, and follow for more content.